Don't bother me, don't you? Don't you? Don't bother me, don't you? Got your shaggy hair out with your chains and your naked skin. What you thinking, boy? Trying to come inside and take a swim. Sin is only relative and love is my religion. So let's get it, split it with you know me and my flexibility. Priority, cause energy is everything and everything is fleeting. Even my heart that's beating. If you wanna read me, I'll spread out all my cards and offer cheating. Boy, you got me in my feelings, it's facts. If you wanna move backwards, sleep on some mattress with that hooker actress, be my guest. I'll say, boy, God bless. We just growing up different, I guess. Don't bother me, boy, don't you bother. I'm just blooming on my own time, on my own. Don't bother me, boy, don't you bother. I'm just blooming on my own time, on my own, on my own time. I am blooming, yeah. Y'all try to devour my flower, hungry for my power, but I don't cower to no one. Listen, and for sure not to no one, son. You dug up my roots and brought me all the way home. You didn't know that I could grow here on my own. I don't blame you. Shit, that's just the game you boys like to play. I'm ready to fly away, or so don't bother me, don't you bother. I'm just blooming on my own. So don't bother me, I'm just blooming on my own. I am blooming, so don't bother me, I'm just blooming on my own, on my own. So don't bother me, I'm just blooming on my own.
That's nice. Very nice.
It sounded nice.
That was cool.
That was fun.
How was that for you?
It was fun.
Okay?
Yeah. Oh, good. What do you think? Third party input?
I thought it was beautiful.
Okay.
Talk about writing that song.
Oh, man. This song is such a theme of my life, I think, for the past several years, but maybe for forever. I always say that I was a late bloomer, but an early bloomer too. Like I had to bloom so fast because I had to take care of a lot of things, and a lot of things in life happen. But when you bloom so early, then sometimes you end up blooming late on other things. So this song was written during a period of my life where I realized that I was giving myself a lot of anxiety about the rate at which I was growing, feeling like I was always trying to catch up with some version of myself that I had projected into the future as a worthy version. Like if I achieve this by this age and this many things happen, then I've done it and I've grown. And I had to grapple and eventually come to terms with the fact that life has a lot of its own plans. So when you can accept that your blooming is going to happen not only on its own time, but that it's cyclical, you know, like there are seasons where you might look like you're blooming and everybody celebrates you, and that's so great. And there might be other seasons where you're just like your seed is below the soil and you have nothing to show for it and no one can see anything. But for you to understand that that's all part of that same blooming cycle and owning it and not letting anybody else be the person that says one version of your life or one season is more important than another.
Wow.
It's
That's
like
cool.
that. That's makes a lot of sense.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. Got all the feels in the song too.
Talk about what early life was like.
Yeah, I always say that if it's true that like some version of our soul chooses a version of the life that we get, my soul was like really cocky. Like it was like, let me get all the trauma out of the way really early because I'm just gonna like move through everything and conquer everything and I got it. And it was like when you take off almost more than you can chew, but it's like just everything that you have to chew on. So my early life was amazing and also super challenging. Actually, being on the island saved me, to be honest. So my mom's side of the family, we're from Samoa, but also Hawaii for the past, like 100, 200 years. Our family has been here. And I was born in Los Angeles, but at a very young age, we came back to Hawaii. And I went to Laie Elementary, and it was like this breath of fresh air and a relief from me because being in Los Angeles in this big city with like working class parents and a very challenging life was like so many things at once. But as soon as I got to the island, I was like, well, now even if there's a lot of drama or headache, like it's okay. There was just like, I had all my cousins around me. I had my culture really strong. And the nature, just like being around nature was really helpful. But in my early life, I had two parents that were pretty young when they had me, and they're beautiful people. I love them so much. But I always say we kind of grew up together, because they were growing up while I was growing up. And so it makes you like, you're a little bit of their child, but you're also a little bit their parent sometimes, but they don't want to accept that or like admit that, but it, but they don't know it. And so it's like this growing experience. Yeah, I'm grateful for my early childhood. It was super challenging, but it's definitely a big part of who I am.
They were together though?
They were together until I was 5, and then they split, and then my mom remarried. Her next marriage was actually here, and then my dad was with someone else, and then they both ended up being with different people later. So I've been through like sets of families. I'm an experienced
Handful of
family
parents.
person. I had too many parents. Some people like they don't have enough parents. They're like, oh, I didn't have any parents, or I just had one parent. I'm always like, you should have taken some of mine because I had plenty parents.
And you had to be their parent a little bit.
Yeah, I think like, I have this conversation with a lot of people too, that I think actually my brother, who's much younger than me, who's from my mother's next marriage, he's younger. So he was talking about relationships, and we're talking about codependency. And he was like, I feel like all young people's relationships are codependent. And I said, yeah, because families are codependent. So like you go from your codependent family to your first relationship, and then you kind of have to work out all the things that are like, this isn't healthy. But whether you have parents that, like my parents really showed up and they looked out for me, but at the same time, because they were younger and they had their own traumas to live through, if you're born a wise child, you become kind of like their parent in different moments, So the roles get all reversed, and like you have to detangle that stuff later as you grow. Yeah.
I feel like my daughter did that a little bit.
Yeah, see, and that's what I mean is like, luckily, if you can travel the arc with your family, or at least some of your family members, then it's amazing because you grow together. But it's special. I'm glad that your daughter and you have that, because it takes both people willing to like do the ride together,
Yeah, it's nice that you're able to see it as, the bigger picture too, because it's like we all do come to parenthood with our own set of issues and trauma and all that kind of stuff.
I think there's no way to get it right. Like, I'm not a parent yet, so I don't know, but I'm sure I will find out that I think you can get it the best you can get it, but I think there's no way to get it right. To raise another human being is like crazy.
So many variables.
So many variables.
So it's not the same. People are just like, you shouldn't do that, this and that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, this is my kid.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about my kid.
Yeah.
So you can't say anything.
It's amazing,
It's
though, like how, trying to be so perfect doesn't really work out for a lot of people.
It's the biggest backfire ever.
My parents tried so hard, and my sisters are like sneaking out the window, So it's like, well,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think you can't get it right, but you can get it as best as you can with a lot of love. That
Right.
goes a
Yeah.
long way.
Yeah. So you're living on Oahu.
Well, right now I'm just visiting.
No, I mean,
You mean when I'm little?
right.
We're
Yeah.
going back.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm living on Oahu, and I stay here until I'm like 9 or something like that, and then I go back to LA, like culture shock. But it was a really good thing too. I ended up being one of the only like scholarship kids at one of the wealthiest schools in California, and it was an art school. And so it was an incredible education, and I got exposed to so many different arts programs that I never would have. But it was a double-edged sword too, because when you are the person from like the non-rich kind of background, and then you're that like who is this person, like who let this person here, that was like my own sort of next lesson to learn, I would say. But I did, and I'm glad that I did.
What, dealing with like rich, entitled
Yeah,
kids?
just like especially because kids are vicious. Like what, kids are the worst. Like they're so. I went back and I was teaching in a music class to like 12 or 13-year-olds a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I forgot how brutal you guys are. Like, but it was actually really healing because I was able to like go back to my younger self and be like, it was never about you. You know what I mean? Like all those kids, like all the things they said, how they were being, like it was never about you. It was just them. But yeah, that exact age was a really strange transition because I came from like, again, just being so happy with almost nothing on the island barefoot all the time. And then just like going into the school where you needed like really expensive clothes to feel like the girls
I feel like
would
there's
like
like Disney
you.
shows about
Totally.
that.
There's so many.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
like Disney movies and there were articles in Vogue written about the kids in my school. Like it was crazy. So that was a wild ride too. But again, like the education and the access that, my story and my mother's side of the family is very, very focused on how much our ancestors sacrificed so that we could have opportunities. Like they went from Sava'i to, like American Samoa, had to stay there for 5 years before they could then come here, before they could stay and then get to the mainland. And then, like all the different states they had to live in trying to like make their way. And it's
Also,
very
you
much
can go to your Disney high school.
also that I can go get traumatized by these rich kids. But I get it, I get it. It's interesting, actually. I feel like so many kids that grow up with a similar story that are living in a version of the diaspora right now. I have a lot of my community is in Africa. A lot is from, different Pacific islands or like Asia, India. And we always talk about how it's the full circle now because our parents left so much of their native resource in order to give us access. But they also, lost and forgot a lot of things, I think. Things that we were naturally wealthy in, like our point of view or our spirituality or our way of relating to the world or whatever it is. And our resources. And now all of those kids that went out and got educated in these cities and whatever are like really wanting to come home, and actually be in the places that their parents left to give them the education so that they could be smart enough to want to come back.
That full-on adopting of Western culture isn't really like the way either. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's something I think a lot of us lived through, like we commiserate a lot of my different friends where you just forgot for a minute who you were, your culture, everything. Like you turned away from it because you were obsessed with just Western media agendas, and you're like, I should be this body shape because that's what whatever famous white person looks like. Or, like I should have this taste in music or do this, or I should straighten my hair or whatever it is. And then you kind of like wake up and you're like, what? That's not, it's cool. That's for whoever that is, but that's not me. I can actually embrace where I came from and who I am. And yeah, that's a journey too.
So in this high school, are you guys like singing and dancing in the hallways and doing all that jazz?
So I know it's like the what is it, like high school high school theater? I don't know, one of those shows.
It's like
That's what I'm sure people imagine in their mind. We had a really strong theater program that was It was like full on professional productions, but it wasn't so much kids dancing. You know what? Compared to normal high school, I should probably just say yes, because we had very artsy. We called all our teachers by their first names. We could like sit on the floor of the classroom and wear crazy clothes. And so, yes, I'll just say yes. It was like that.
And so you're starting with music around this time.
You know what's interesting is music was always my first. Apparently, I don't know if my mom's lying, but she says that the moment I was delivered, the nurse, because I screamed apparently on this pitch, like, ah, and she was like, oh, she's a singer. So I don't, that could be like a mom myth, but music was always my first thing. And, you know, my mom, my grandma, my aunties always would sing to me. But then I don't remember how old I was. I think I was like 11 or something. And someone close to me, close in my family, told me that I had a really nasal voice. And the way they said it was like, you know, when you're just at that vulnerable age and you're just like, jum, 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 you just like shut down inside. And then I never wanted to sing. And I didn't really ever sing out loud, except maybe one or two times until I was like 18.
What?
I was like, wow. I have a terrible voice. I can't sing. I always sang in my room, collected records, loved music, all of it. But it was like very private with the door closed. And then I actually started to play the guitar. And because when you learn how to play the guitar, it's so hard to get to the next chord. You're like, it takes 5 minutes just to get from one chord to the next chord. And so I had to sing to use the melody to get my hands to get to the next chord. And then I started singing out loud and people were like, you can sing. And I was like, I can sing? Oh, well, I like it. So I guess I'll just keep doing it. And then I came back to it.
Yeah, you have such a wonderful, smooth, sultry, definitely not nasal tone. It's like, what?
You know what's crazy is I think a lot, like when you create people, this same person, years later when I was like, then I could sing, they're like, oh, you can sing. And then I was learning how to play, I don't remember, it was a harmonica, which if you've ever heard someone, it's hard to listen to someone try to learn to play the harmonica. And that same person was like, oh, maybe this is one instrument you can't play. And I was like, and like 6 months later, I was playing wonderfully, but I think a lot of people don't have the patience to listen to creatives creating. Like if you're not a creative, you don't really know that most of it sounds like trash or it's really bad for a considerable amount of time. And you get used to that because you know, but outside people looking in don't. They're like, oh, that person can't do that.
Like it's like automatic talent or something. It's like, no.
And even if I've known people that have amazing automatic talent as a dancer or whatever, but if they start a new style, everyone's like, oh, it's awkward to watch. And then, you know, like a year later, they're killing it.
Yeah, everything takes
it takes time and
you don't know anything until you
yeah, but a lot of people don't, you know, you're a musician, so I'm sure you've also had, you know, where it's like if you're learning a new song, sometimes you're like
every time, like literally 30 minutes ago.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm like, oh.
You're like,
do I know?
Do I know how to do
exactly.
this?
I'm like, what am I doing again? What are these chords?
Exactly.
What did we play last week?
I'm pretty sure I played these before. Just
Yeah, and I think younger, like I see this in younger vocalists too, you know, if they don't play instruments or whatever and they're listening to a band rehearse or something, and if in the first 5 minutes people aren't immediately getting it the way they think it's supposed to sound, they get worried and concerned, and it's like, just chill. Like, you know what I mean? Things
let it breathe.
Yes, exactly.
Hold on.
Just
settle
hold on.
down.
You got to connect all the pieces first.
Exactly. You have to take all the pieces out and then put them together, but you know, it's messy in the process.
It's like asking members of an orchestra, hey, get together and then play this piece you've never heard or seen
perfectly.
Before. And then like the audience knows what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And then they play and they're like, whoa, these guys are terrible.
Exactly.
But then these are like some of the best
exactly
Philharmonic people
exactly
that exist.
Yes, and we all know
fair.
that
it's not
from
a fair
being
assessment.
No, it's not a fair assessment.
Yes.
But this is the thing that we live in as human beings, right? As non-artists don't really give fair assessments of artists.
People like sometimes are like, can you video the process of them working out a song? And sometimes I'll put tidbits, but I'm like, it's pretty tedious.
You're like, you don't want
there's a lot of ugly sounds. And,
You're going to close the video the first 10 minutes if you watch it.
Yeah, my parents and siblings had to sit and listen to like, oh my God. He's literally playing the same thing 3,000 times.
Yeah.
That's how it is. That's how
Yeah.
that's how-
Yeah.
that's
I
how it
mean, you
happens.
think I have a lovely voice, but just yesterday I was sitting on a patio, and I think after like 40 minutes of playing the same song, I just heard the next door neighbor's patio door just go. You know what I mean? They were like, I can't listen anymore. So yeah,
They're like, next song.
next.
But like
That's
it
what it
sounds
takes.
nice, but it's like, wait, that was the 300th time that
Yeah.
I heard
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
It's like, it's not necessarily bad. It's just like, wow.
It is the artistic process.
it is. It is. Yeah.
Maybe we can mix in another song of yours.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want me to?
Yeah. So Tyler from Tyde Music
Are you endorsed
put us in
by-
touch.
I'm
They make some of the
partnering with
best-
Tyde.
Oh, that's a good decision.
I know. I'm so excited. You know what's so cool is like, I really believe that when you focus on something in your mind, life will do very mysterious things to all of a sudden make those things, or at least opportunities for those things to appear in your life. So I literally was thinking, I really need to get a new baritone, because the last baritone I got, I was actually here. And I didn't want to spend a lot of money on it because I knew I was going to leave it here with my grandma. And I was like, I spent like $100 on a baritone. And I was like, I'll just use that for now. And I played it for like a year. And then I said, okay, I'm actually really playing the baritone again. So I need a new baritone. And I think 3 days later, Tyler from Tyde Music messaged me. We'd never spoken. And he was like, hey, I really love your music. I love your style. We'd really love to partner with you and, you know, get you a baritone. And I was like, well, cool.
Yeah, it's funny
Whoever
because we
was
usually get tenor
eavesdropping.
for them. I don't think we've ever gotten a baritone.
I know, because they're not.
Yeah,
they're like
we have.
They're less common
Maybe like
though, right?
But,
one
yeah,
in
ma-
like the past 7 years or something.
No, a couple. He did the Mike Love baritone
Ooh,
as
cool.
well.
That was kind of a special one though, right?
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's cool.
But what a perfect fit.
It's so yeah. My mom was like, "It's you."
Yeah.
It's like,
They do great
it's
stuff.
you.
Love those
It's
guys.
beautiful. I named it Limao after
Looks
my
like
great
Myrtle.
grandma. Yeah, yeah, the blonde.
So the Tyde sound is like partly due to the neck being tied in with the sides there of the body.
yeah,
And they get
geez.
such a big sound out of their slim bodies.
so warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comfort edge on all of their stuff makes it so it's like you just want to hug them.
I know, it's so and you know, and like there's such something about beautiful pieces of wood too that when they're resonating as an instrument, it adds something that you can't explain. It's very special.
Absolutely.
Just feel the resonance.
Yeah.
Like, wow,
It's
this is a
also
great-
Yeah.
This is a great instrument.
sweet
Yeah.
when you know like the people have
Yes.
such a good spirit and soul. Like
Yeah.
they're such good folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of them. They're great builders. Just really good people. Got to hang out with them.
Yeah, a few times.
A couple times at NAM, and they're just
Nice.
super nice.
Did a podcast
chill
once
guys.
with Tyler too, yeah.
Nice.
Devin and Tyler, yeah. Keep killing
Nice.
it, boys. All right. So what are you gonna play?
So, okay, I'm going to play a song. I don't know that this song has ever existed anywhere outside of like small shows or in my room, but it's the perfect time to play it. The song is called Pele, after the goddess of volcanic destruction and creation. And I wrote this song during a very, very, very challenging time in my life. I was actually in Ghana, and I was just going through one of those periods of life where you're just like, what is happening? I'm just going to take everything day by day. And in my day by day moment, I wrote the song. It's so simple. It's like the same rotation of chords. And I was waking up in the middle of the night, not being able to sleep very well. And I kept having dreams about Pele. And so I started writing this song. And particularly right now, I think just because everybody is feeling Maui so much and there's so much grief in the collective, as well as, you know, this weird thing in life where like painful things and joyful things can coexist. So I think that while there's so much pain going on that so many of my extended ohana are, you know, facing and dealing with, I think a lot of people also in some other way are feeling a state of relief that there's more conversations that are going to be had right now about the things that need to be spoken about, that haven't been spoken about in like the history of Hawaii in a lot of our lifetimes. And unfortunately, the tragedies of Maui are what is bringing that forward. So I want to play this song because it's very much that sort of duality of, things that are dark and light, but somehow necessary in order to create new life.
Suddenly I can't speak, my tongue's all cut up and down. Suddenly I see memories and dreams. She messages me, slips in between my sheets, asking if I'll set her free. Pele, Pele, fire you bring. Pele, Pele, for you I sing. Pele, Pele, burned by your king. Pele, Pele, forgive my queen. Forgive him, my queen. Release him so you can be free. Forgive him, he knows now what he's done. He'll know once he's won at the cost of your love. My love ain't enough. Why you talk to me so rough? What you done, I forgive, then you do them all again. Let you in, then you come and go like I ain't nothing much. Whoa, guess I gotta go. I loved you like home, I know that was my problem. I should be my own. Thank you, helped me soften. Now I've grown so strong. Still wish we could get along. Pele, Pele, fire you bring. Pele, Pele, for you I sing. Pele, Pele, burned by your king. Pele, Pele, forgive my queen. Amen. Amen.
Nice.
That's Pele. It was so nice to hear other lines along with it.
Oh, no.
Very powerful.
I like that whole walk down.
I know it's so hypnotic, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know when I was writing it, I was like, oh, okay, what's the more chords? Because it can't just be this. And life was like, nah, it's just that same walk down. I was like, okay.
It's pretty dramatic sound.
Yeah.
It is. It's very dramatic. Yeah. Yeah. It's for those dramatic times in life.
Yeah, I really feel your thoughts leading up to that regarding Maui. I think that we're all pretty heartbroken, but also feel the need for community and awareness and the collective. We have auctions going on right now at the site with 100% of the proceeds going there, and we're going to continue to be putting them up. We've got a live show on the 16th that'll be coincided with a bunch of like really amazing custom builders that are in the process right now of building ukes. And so the thing is, I mean, it's a drop of water in the pool of help that's really needed, but that's what it is to be a collective and do your part to make the difference that really can be made. And so when you were leading up to that, are you in Ghana when you write this?
I was in Ghana when I wrote that. I was in the middle of a very surprising, unexpected breakup. And it was so, the ones for like, you can't get out of bed. I was just like, I would like crawl to my instruments, play for as long as I could, and then get back in bed and then get out of bed to like, I danced a lot. Polynesian dance is really great when you're very like angry. You have a lot of like things to release. And then I would just go walk at sundown and put headphones in and walk. And so that song ended up being like one of the theme songs of that time. Especially because, again, Pele is a female deity. And even to me, Hawaii is a very feminine land. Like the divine feminine energy is very strong in our land and in our nature. And so much of the oppression and violence and, challenges that have come with a more sometimes harshly male-dominated, not like all men are like that, but just more that harshly male-dominated, westernized, colonial plantation era perspective. I feel like as I was going through this breakup and learning that I needed to forgive, the masculine for the pain that I was in, somehow I was being connected to this ancestry in me that's like going through a similar thing. I think a lot of the land and our people and that feminine energy needs to forgive the masculine energy because it takes both. It takes the masculine and the feminine energy to have an entire community. But we've had this rupture of distrust between men and women and also between just masculine and feminine energy in general. So I thought to myself, wow, I feel like I'm really being taught something by my ancestors that I can't understand yet. And I felt that way because it was so crazy. I went on that trip and I didn't know if I was going to go for sure. And I prayed. I pray a lot to my ancestors, but it's more like talking to them. I'm like, okay, if you want me to do this, like make it easy. If you don't want me to do it, make it hard. So I said that. And then the next night I went to the airport and everything was easy. Like my bags were overweight. The person was like, just come through. Like everything that should have been hard was easy. So I said, okay, I'm going. And as soon as I got there, I unpacked all my stuff and I found a coin from Samoa, which I have never seen in my life. And I texted my mom, like, have you seen this? She was like, nope, don't know where it came from. So for the entire trip, even though so many challenging things happened to me, I was just in the state of surrender, like, okay, like my ancestors were also nomads. I'm sure a lot of crazy things happened on their voyages. So I'm just on a crazy voyage right now. So that song was like almost like a chant. It helped bring me home.
Wow, your explanations are so deep. I'm like, wow.
I was talking to my brother yesterday. I was like writing in my journal on the beach, and he was like, what are you always writing? You're always writing. What are you writing? And I was like, like my thoughts, reflections about life. I was trying to get out of it. And he was like, yeah, but read me something. And I was like, I don't think you want to hear. It's going to be boring. He's like, I don't care. So I read him a page, and he was just quiet, and he was like, nah, that's some book type shit. I would be like, my head hurt, that pho was good.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I know, it's so true. When I was really little, my kindergarten teachers told my mom, they were like, I hope you don't take this offensively, but we call her the little old lady because she's always saying some left things. My mom was like, yeah, no, I'm not surprised.
So take us from High School Musical to Africa.
Yeah. So the jump from High School Musical to Africa was my obsessive dream to go to NYU, New York University. Again, very much living in that time of my life where I'm like sort of indoctrinated subconsciously by Western culture, right? So I'm like, I'm going to go to this university and make all my ancestors proud, and I'm going to become this famous actress. I was acting at the time, not really doing music yet. And the second I got there, I was just so disillusioned. It wasn't all the things I thought it was going to be. No shade on NYU, it's great, but it just wasn't for me. And instead, I fell deeply into music. But I had no pathway from music. Like, I didn't know, what do you do with music? I had this whole pathway that was in front of me. after my university career. And then I decided to leave university. And all I knew was that I loved music. But it was very confusing because all the musicians I knew were either like drug addicts that were successful or drug addicts that were not successful. And it seemed like those were kind of the options for me, you know? And I actually was someone who like had an unhealthy relationship with substances already growing up because I was like an ambitious, overachieving person, but who was like kind of just a little bit high all the time. And it worked for me. So when I became a musician, I was like, this could really not be good because it feels like that's what everyone as a musician does. So I kind of bopped around a little bit trying to find my version of it. And in that time period, my mom was very smart. Moms do so much just by like suggesting things softly at different periods of your life when they know that like just putting something in front of you may be the life or death difference. So she was going on her second trip to Kenya in East Africa. And she invited me to come facilitate an arts program because there were all of these different schools in underserved areas that wanted an arts program to come in so that we could create an experiment around, does creative programming in schools also help literacy? So is creativity just a luxury that doesn't matter, or is creativity a necessary part of education because it actually helps kids learn? And we found that they did. A lot of kids that had terrible trauma or that had, mental impairments in terms of not being able to learn after doing these creative programs could actually absorb information better. They perform better on tests and things like that. So I facilitated that arts program, but then I also just fell in love with East Africa. And my life changed. It wasn't like fall in love where you're like, this is all amazing. It was more like, when you fall in love in that way where you're like confused, stirred, your life is turned upside down, but also you're inspired and it's exciting. I was, like most people, completely ignorant to what life is like in Africa. And obviously life is different across Africa. Not everywhere in Africa is the same. But I was ignorant to pretty much all life in Africa, even though my stepmother is from South Africa. I didn't know anything about it. And I think the reason why I ended up there for so long is the music was so good. There were so many good musicians. There were so many good artists. And right when I first went to Africa, I had just gone to Kenya for the first 1 or 2 trips, loved it. Knew I wanted to come back, but I was still kind of bopping around doing music. And then I had a manager at the time. I was offered to be signed by these different labels in France and Europe. And they asked me where I wanted to live because I just finished playing shows in New York and London and LA and Paris. And I said, I want to live in Nairobi, which is in Kenya. And they said, why? And it was it was a soul thing. Like I knew I needed to be there, but it was also a music thing. There were so many musicians and producers and just a general feeling of music and art and fashion and creativity that changed my life. And the album, the EP that I just put out, was recorded by musicians that I met in Kenya. And the songs that I wrote that the musicians played to were produced by producers there. And it was just this incredible creative community at a very powerful moment.
Are they
in time.
in LA now, or
They are still in Kenya.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so you guys just swap tracks back and forth?
So we recorded all the
there?
I was there for the recording. We recorded all of the parts of that EP live in one room. The drums were isolated. The rest of us were in one room, and then I had just a vocal scratch take on all the songs, and then I recorded the final stems in LA.
It's amazing. It's really beautiful music, and the musicians that you got on it are just stellar.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a special moment.
So what is life like in Kenya?
Yeah, it's funny because one of my friends who's lived there for like 15 years just went back home to Jersey, and she was at a wedding, and someone was like, where do you park your car?
What?
I just asked
That's a
you
random
that. It's so random. But other people will ask you questions like, like I've heard someone ask another one of my friends, like, do you have a pet lion? And just like all kinds of things. Stupid. But again, no shade, because I was very ignorant. Speaking specifically for Kenya, Nairobi, which is the main city in Kenya, is bustling. It's very international. There's people from all over the world who live there. More and more, I think, as well. It has always been that way, but more and more. There's everything that you would imagine that you have in most cities that you see. There's like epicenters, there's malls, there's, big office buildings. There's tons of construction going on all the time. The things that feel very different is like the infrastructure for a lot of the roads are different. So the roads themselves can sometimes not be that great. The roads have been getting better and better though. And again, specifically in Kenya, there's not really traffic rules. So there's more like traffic understandings, like you kind of understand who has right of way, and there's this whole sort of road hierarchy that you follow. So there are some things that are very different and a little bit
Is there
lawless.
a lot of moped, like
Tons
action?
of
Yeah,
motorcycles
right.
and all of that. And
They
they're
just
actually
kinda do
one of
whatever.
they're one of the rulers of the road. Like the number one that you listen to is, they call them matatus, which are like they look like small VW buses, but they're public transportation. And they're like the king of the road. So if you see them at an intersection, because there weren't any lights on the roads until recently. So if you pull up to an intersection and they're there, like they get right of way. And then the motorcycles, which they call bodas will just do whatever. You have to like weave around them. And then there's a hierarchy of cars, like the people driving BMWs or Land Rovers, because of like the social status almost of that person having a nicer car, so they somehow get to dictate where they're going. Those are the interesting cultural nuances that are very different to any normal, quote unquote normal westernized environment.
Every city's got its dangers, but
100%.
is it
I think that
unique to over there? Or?
for me, I was surprised that in general, I expected it to be a lot more dangerous than it was. However, I think that me giving you that answer is me being a bit desensitized, because when I first got there, I remember being shocked that there's like guards with AK-47s. You can't really walk alone at night, but you adjust. Like for me, compared to other friends who live in like Colombia or different parts of Brazil or whatever it is, and things that happen to them, I was like, I think I had it pretty good. Like I had some pretty dangerous moments. I had friends that would get jacked, or I saw carjackings, or I had scary moments for sure. But I think your bar changes for, what's dangerous or not. And at the same time, I remember when a lot of people were really anxious about me living there and trying to convince me not to do it. At the same time, there were like school shootings around the corner from their house in the U.S. So,
is like the misogyny any different? Is there aspects that way? Or
I think that the main thing that's quite different is the traditional hold of religion is still very, very strong. And like in Hawaii, there's a lot of people who still very deeply live as Mormons, because that's their family history, is like when the missionaries came, even in my family, that until sort of like, my mom's generation, my grandma was incredibly, incredibly Mormon. And there's a energy there of sort of disconnect between those that are devout and those that are sort of just living, not to say they're not religious or they're not spiritual, but they're not living in a devout way. So for those that are devout, there's a lot of obvious things that are not allowed in terms of like how women dress or how they are. I think it's still technically illegal to be homosexual there. Like it's actually against the law. That was one of the things that was, because so many of my friends in my community it was such a strange experience for me. Like being from Hawaii, where it's like legal, one of the first legal places that people can, get married, and then living somewhere where it's illegal.
But it's kind of like doing drugs. It's like, whatever.
Everyone, and yeah, exactly. That's what I will say too, is a lot of people, when they ask about, different places in Africa that I've been or lived, they ask about safety and they ask about corruption. And I say that it's just its own version. Like you see corruption there and you see how that works. And then you see corruption here and you see how it works. And if anything, being there makes you more tuned in to so many of the things that you're not really aware of when you're living in the insulated American bubble, you know, and then you go there and you see the effect of what a lot of our ignorance has had, like, on other people in other parts of the world. I think that was the biggest thing for me, was seeing that. That was my biggest part of the shock, and needing to integrate that and trying to figure out how can you help something that's so beyond one person, which goes back to the conversation we were having, where there's a lot of help you can't provide, but you can show up with a lot of, you know, well-intended energy and just do small things to create some better energy where there's been a lot of trauma.
What about the people and culture kept you there, though?
Oh my God, so many things. I actually think one of the main reasons why I ended up there was a Maasai guide the Maasai tribe in Kenya, it's smaller and smaller now because of, you know, just different parts of our evolving world that make it difficult for them. But the Maasais, most people know them as the people who will do that dance where they jump really, really high in the air. People will be like, oh yeah, that's the Maasais. But they're also obviously, of course, like this incredible culture beyond that. And they're sort of like land keepers. They protect a lot of the land and the integrity of the land. And I met a Maasai guide when I was in a very strange time in my life. And we just walked across the Maasai, like across the Mara for days. And I use that as my answer to you, because the presence in so many people there is what also really kept me. Like the presence of people who have been through so many challenging things, who might not even know what tomorrow is going to bring them, but their capacity to be so present in the moment and decide that they're still going to be here with you in this moment, instead of like distracted, dissociated, looking off, you know, being on a phone or whatever it is, like so much presence. And then the culture that's a vast question, because there's many different tribes, there's many different languages, but the food, the music, you know, the stories, so many things about the people kept me there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think being more connected to the survival aspects of life has its own, like that's where we come from.
Yeah.
And we're almost like all the comforts of our world right now are what probably cause a lot of the depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
our energy's just kind of free floating. Anyways, let's mix in some more music.
Let's do it. Do you guys want to play one of the? Do you want to do for Love?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
Okay. I'm gonna take a sip of water.
I'm gonna take a sip of this monster.
Thank you so much, Tihane. This is such a treat.
Thank you. This is a fantastic way to spend my evening.
I knew I liked your music, but I didn't know what a fascinating life you've had. It's so cool.
It's so never ending. I always think, like, can life be done giving me all these crazy stories? And it's like, nope.
Still going.
Got more. Try?
Let's try it.
Let's try.
Let's jump in.
find love within. And I came back to let you know, got a thing for you, and I can't let go. Some people go around the world for love, but they may never find what they dream of. What you won't do for love. You tried everything, but I won't give up. In my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do. Say my friends wonder what is wrong with me. Got me in a daze of your love, you see. And I came back to let you know, got a thing for you, and I can't let go. What you won't do for love. You tried everything, but you won't give up. In my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do.
That's a nice groove.
Yeah.
It's so
I
different.
love that song a lot.
I know, I
That's one of my
love that
favorite
song
songs.
too.
It's a fun song.
I love it.
They could even like combine it with just the two.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
almost the
know,
same
that
kinda
would be
bridge.
amazing. Such a flip, right?
Oh.
I think he recorded that in like 432. So it's like you have to
Make
tune
it
into
if we
40.
try, just the two of us, you and I.
Oh, we might have to try that now. At least even just in the end, even if you just
Yeah.
sing it, you know?
That's cool.
We might have to do it again. How do you feel about it?
You could just do just the two of us.
And then you can
You
Pull
want
it
to
up
do just
and
the
try.
end? I don't
Kinda.
even know that song. Okay, maybe it's a song for another time. Maybe we need to do another time.
What if we can kind of cut it in, maybe?
Good luck. He's like, don't tell the editor that.
I could.
Do
but
it in
it's like,
post.
why? It's like, I don't know.
Okay, punch us in.
Or we can kind of continue and make like we never stop. Like it.
He's like, no.
We can just
What if we do a
keep it rolling.
What if we fine? I was excited by that. I love it. I love flips. You know, where all of a sudden someone throws a sneaky
Okay.
line in there.
I'm
What
down.
if we?
Yeah.
What if we just sing from the like a half version of it instead of doing both verses and choruses? What if we just do like a verse and then a chorus and then I do the
Yeah,
just the
we can
two
do
of
that.
us as an outro thing?
Okay.
Yeah, it's worth trying. Okay, I'm gonna start from the beginning.
Yeah, F sharp minor or A.
That's the BTS you need. what key are we playing in?
Wait, yeah, what is this? G minor? F sharp?
F sharp minor.
F
Yeah,
sharp
so
minor.
D major 7, C
Ah.
sharp 7, F sharp minor, E minor
Okay.
7, A7. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I love it. Now it's a samba version.
Yeah, it gets fun and creative.
ever happen.
Like this is what we do all the time.
I know,
Like,
I
hey,
understand.
This sounds good.
How about this?
Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You could do that.
He's like, wait,
sound
where
pretty
he's
good
like,
though.
the
That would actually
samba
sound pretty good though.
The samba one?
Was it just two of us?
We can make it if we try, just the two of us, you and I, just the two of us, building castles in the sky, just the two of us, you and I.
That sounds really good.
It's not wrong.
Yeah.
What you
I
could
don't
do
know.
is do for love, and then at the end of the chorus, switch, and then go into the samba.
Exactly.
Just put it. It's like putting all the ingredients in. Like it's a lasagna casserole.
Oh yeah, there we go.
We have elements of
A little bit of
Brazil.
spam on top.
Yeah, exactly. Just put some whipped cream on top
Some
too. It's fine.
chorizo.
Might as well. Why not?
I trust you guys to just play whatever you want to try, and we'll just see what happens.
Don't say that. Trust me.
Like
The song
5
won't
hours
end. I'm
later.
serious, it won't end.
Yeah. 5 hours later, we're gonna have 12 different albums of 12 different genres of one song.
Same-
Just this one song.
Same
Exactly.
key, same chords.
Yeah. It happens. It happens all the time.
Oh my god.
Okay, so what are we doing again?
Yeah, so we're gonna try "Do for Love" again. Yeah, a little bit faster.
Oh.
Yeah.
Guess you wonder where I've been. I search to find love within. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go. And my friends wonder what is wrong with me. Got me in a daze of your love, you see. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go. Some people go around the world for love, but they may never find what they dream of. What you won't do for love. You tried everything, but you won't give up. In my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Just the two of us, we can make it if we try. Just the two of us, you and I. Just the two of us, two of us, you and I. Make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do.
Very nice.
It was worth it.
That was fun.
Love that a lot. That was yeah. Can we do that one for fun?
Yes. Eventually we must stop.
So,
But not now or else he's going to lose his mind.
that'll
Maybe
be
after.
Why don't you guys try that Sade song?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, for that one.
That was in.
Till you get arrested.
No, I'm not drunk. I've just been drinking monsters all night. But they're really good. Sorry. Yeah, if we can get a van sponsor and a Monster energy drink and alcohol sponsor, that'd be very fun.
It would probably hurt
Your life?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well,
Too much.
it's all about compromises.
Like what?
Yeah.
Your health is being
That's-
compromised?
That and sanity.
Okay, right. Gotta balance it out.
Or else life would just be boring. I'm not a good
Role model?
not a good role model leader for anything, so just like to have fun. Anyways, okay. Here we go.
Your love is king. Crown you in my heart. Your love is king. Never need to buy your kisses ring. Round and round and round my head, touching the very part of me, making my soul sing, tearing the very heart of me. I'm crying out for more. Your love is king. Crown you in my heart. Your love is king. You're the ruler of my heart. Your kisses ring. Round and round and round my head, touching the very part of me, making my soul sing, tearing the very heart of me. I'm crying out for more. I'm coming out. I'm coming. You're making me dance inside. Your love is king. Crown you in my heart. Your love is king. You're the ruler of my heart. Your kisses ring. Round and round and round my head, touching the very part of me, making my soul sing, tearing the very heart of me. I'm crying out for more. Your love is king.
totally played it in the wrong part. Where
Still
is
came out.
It really worked. Yeah, it totally worked. It did its
Where am I?
thing.
1, 2. Something like that.
Something like that.
That was nice.
I loved it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Should we do a funk version?
Your love is.
Can you imagine? I was like, what? I've changed my childhood now. Like, some covers are amazing because you're like, wow, that's new added layers to this thing I love. And other
That's
covers
the best part. Yeah.
feel like other covers can like change, you're like, shh.
What are you doing? You're ruining
Don't
it.
do that to me. That songs mean something to me.
As much as so like Scary Pockets. Have you heard of Scary Pockets
Yeah.
before? So they do really good covers, and they do some pretty different covers.
Yeah.
That's kind of like how it is. It's either like
I
hit or miss,
like
really.
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes it can be really
I like this
ooh.
Instagram channel. There, I ruined it.
I haven't.
Oh.
What is it?
Oh,
Enlighten me.
well,
is it that?
I mean, he just
Lots of
basically
that?
takes
Oh,
songs
no,
and
he does it
ruins them and,
intentionally.
yeah,
Oh.
mashes them up. or
No,
just-
no, no. I would
It's like
never.
just because you can
Doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was a person.
I would be doing that kind of channel if I had time. I'd be doing this kind of
Yeah.
just to piss people off. Just yeah,
It's funny.
it's really funny.
Man. Yeah. Yeah. Covers are like, even as an artist, I feel like I never did that many covers when I was starting. Obviously, you play covers because you don't have that many of your own songs. But at some point, I felt like, oh, I want to not do covers as much as I can. Mostly just because the songs I love, people did them so much justice that to sing them feels like.
But it's good because when you're doing covers, especially for songs you don't know, at the same time you're learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're learning a lot of things,
Yeah.
especially in keys that you don't really play in, right?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
You can take that as the basis and then change it into something else if you want.
But
make
you
it
have a lot
funky.
to say too, and I really like your writing.
Thank you. Thank
So,
you. I appreciate
Some people
that.
really struggle with having thoughts that they want to put out there, and you seem to have a plethora.
Yeah, got a lot of thoughts. A lot
Wait,
of thoughts
so-
on deck.
I kind of walked in when you were saying like I don't know how to categorize my music.
Yes, we were talking about how like categories can be like
it
an
would just
existential
be-
crisis.
It would just be soul.
Thank
right?
you.
Because then that falls
That's
under
what I say.
a ton of
Yeah.
that's
that's
my
generalized with a bunch of other types of genres, right?
Totally.
That's not a lot of
Neo-soul.
people can do soul.
Totally.
That's a
Totally.
very specific people can.
Yeah.
It's funny, right? Because I feel like seems like a broad category, but it's actually a specific thing. I think because of soul, literally, like it's soul music. What I love about it is it's not so much about technicality. There are artists like singers or even instrumentalists that aren't technically very good, but because their soul is so
Yeah, their soul is
you
very
just
technical,
yeah,
I know.
yeah, exactly. That's a great way to look at it. Your soul has a
And
lot of technicality.
It's like certain people are kind of just they have it. Either you have it or you don't. And,
totally.
like some people they have it and you're like whoa, like keep doing what you're doing. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's exactly what you should be doing. And that's the fun thing with soul, because with soul there's so much there's like funk, there's even rock.
Yeah.
And there even
Yeah.
Yeah, they all
R&B.
merge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that
Yeah.
actually what you were saying about learning when you're playing covers or playing around and that I have had that experience so much in soul music because I love soul music so much, and you can learn so much just about progression and melody and different, rhythmic
Yeah.
patterns and stuff, because you can get lost because a lot of the progressions are pretty simple.
Yeah.
And so then you just by nature start being like, how about this? How about this?
And
How
like
about
you
this?
learn the genius of the artist that wrote the piece. too.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is very different. Even though like regular bystander could be like, oh, this all kind of sounds the
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
It's like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like you don't know soul music.
Yeah.
Like I do, I guess.
I appreciate that. I'll take it.
It all sounds great.
I want to see you with your Kenyan band over here at Blue Note.
Oh,
I
that'd be
know, that
sick.
would be crazy. Oh my
How
gosh.
do we make that
I know,
happen?
how do we make that happen? I actually feel, what's crazy is so many times in life, it's actually very possible to make that happen. But because of visas, I've seen huge artists in Kenya not be able to go on their tours because of like visa technicalities. It's
What a
crazy.
crime.
It's the craziest thing to me. You know, there are so many issues in the world if you get into a bag of things about the world, but if there's one thing that I could easily have someone waive and change, it would be like that. Like, you know, just the immigration and justice of people
Yeah.
not being able to get, especially if, okay, I understand whatever, different countries want to have different restrictions, but when someone actually does all the protocol and then still for some reason they're just like, no.
Sorry.
That is crazy to
We can't
me.
do it.
That is crazy to me. It's maddening. It's wild. I mean, brilliant musicians I've seen just not be able to leave their country.
Preposterous.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it keeps people from experiencing great things.
Yes.
Yeah.
The world is
One of a million travesties. But
Yeah, exactly. Pick your poison of them. That's definitely one.
But yeah,
strong
as
one.
an international musician, I'm sure that's frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, especially just because, I mean, when you travel, you can hear some of the most incredible music you've ever heard in your life, like on the street or in the tiniest place with 10 people, you know, and you're losing your mind wondering how can more people, how can I record what, you know, and just, it's like part of the just bizarre mysteries of life that you have to just sort of walk away being grateful that you got that experience
Yeah.
or you discovered that person. But
It's cool too, though, because it's not always about, it's like about the process and the love of making
Yes.
music. I mean, there was a time
Yes.
before recording. where
yes.
People just did it
Yeah.
to feel good,
Yeah.
make other people happy,
Yeah.
all those things.
I still do. I feel like music is mostly part of my mental health. It's like the
Yeah.
main biggest reason that I do it so much in my life.
100%. I'm sure for a lot of our listeners, that's the main
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's not about
like-
being,
Yeah,
you know,
being anything
yeah,
with
right.
it. Yeah.
I like how you write journals and stuff.
Yeah.
There were times where you used to do it too,
Yeah.
where you just pull out your phone, like, I have this really good idea for something, and then you did this voice memo on your phone, and
Yeah, we
It's
just
so good.
and you just keep going back and
Yeah.
getting more
it's
more
like I'm never
ideas.
gonna listen back to it
Yeah.
again. But it's
I
like
know.
I was like, wait, this is a good idea. I need to put it down somewhere, just in case I feel like going back and listening to it. I never ever went back.
You know what? That's a really good.
the one that I would
Someone
never
needs to
listen to.
create like an app that is a voice note journal because I also have hundreds of voice notes and I just
They
actually
have to, so Apple
it
has
needs
to
to be
they have to change
something.
the voice memo app to voice journal. And people
yeah,
are gonna-
that would
it's
be
gonna be the same thing.
that would
but
be
repurposed.
perfect. But I think it also needs a little bit of organization because that's my
Yeah.
problem is I just years and years and years and I'm terrible so I don't name them. So it's just like what's a voice recording?
You just have the date, you're like,
736.
Oh, you know how they
Yeah.
kind of
What's
do
it
that
called?
with your photos now automatically.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I mean. If they could tag, you
Yeah.
know, like we'll just
I
give them
think-
more of our information.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like,
If you could just voice recognize me and listen to everything I say privately,
analyze all my
More of our
thoughts.
data.
analyze all my thoughts and tag them. For
Why are
me.
you advertising exactly
We
what I
have
need?
an AI app for that now. Now the app will write itself
Yeah,
and
right.
then write what you're thinking.
All you have to do is
based
think it.
on all these algorithms.
Yeah, exactly. Just think it and touch your phone.
So you're never ever gonna be yourself ever.
Right, when you
There's gonna
think
be
about
10
buying
different versions
something,
of
it'll
you.
just buy it. Yeah.
And create itself again.
We laugh, but it's real.
Yeah, it's,
It's coming.
It's here.
It's funny, like we laugh and it's kind of sad at the same time.
Yeah,
Like, man,
yeah, yeah.
These robots.
it's like, where does it go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, you know, again, there's something so beautiful about all music and all acoustic instruments, but specifically there's something around like ukuleles that it's like there's people have this deep love of slowing down or just appreciating simple things and just like a simple feeling of whatever that, even if it's a sad feeling, but just not having to have 8 feelings at once, like on an app doing things. Like there's just something so deep in the culture that you just feel like, let me just be simple for a minute. Like so many people share
It's
that.
an especially organic sound
Yes.
too.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, like if I don't hear ukulele for a while and then I hear it again, I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah.
it's
It
Yeah,
has
it's only
that
4
soul
strings.
thing. It's the same thing. Sometimes it's like kind of out of tune, but it's so deeply soulful
Yeah.
that it just does the thing that it's supposed to do to your heart.
I love hearing good singers over it too. 'Cause
Yeah.
like the song can really shine. Sometimes guitar can be a bit much.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
What's LA like now?
LA, it's so funny. I have such a love-hate relationship with LA. I love California very much. I think LA as a city can be so many things, but just like all things in life, it is what you make of it ultimately, and it is your perspective of it. I have years of, again, like the rich kids school and the sort of like crazy scattered childhood and all these different layers that added up to at one point me thinking LA was just a waste of time and I didn't want anything to do with it. Traveled all over the world and then really felt this deep place of softness for it. It's like a parallel universe. There's no other place like Los Angeles in the world and no other place really like California. But I think that right now what's really interesting is there was a deeply jaded, apathetic phase, which is kind of like what you were talking about, where when I left to live in Kenya, I felt relieved because so many of the other people, creatives, just Los Angelinos were in this haze of apathy and a little bit jaded and sort of, I guess, disillusioned by life, because when you see so much happening, but you feel like there's only so much you can do, it makes you just get desensitized and you just end up being a little bit cynical and a little bit dry or whatever it is. I think that's changed now, and I think a lot of people have breathed fresh energy into it, but now there's just so many people there. So it's like a lot of new people have brought a lot of new energy, but now there's just a lot of people. And I think that's a little bit intense. All of these lovely areas that for a long time have preserved neighborhood feelings and beautiful trees and biodiversity are, getting changed to have big malls and things like that built into them. So I don't know in the next couple years what LA will be like, but I feel grateful that, and most people will tell you this who live in LA, it's your people and it's your flow, like what you do, where you go and how you live your life. I spend a lot of my time in nature. If it's hiking or if it's driving down to the beach or whatever. I don't swim in the ocean because we're from here and it's like, you can't swim in the LA Ocean if you've come from Hawaii. Like, it's just,
very cold.
You're like, you mean the
miserable.
bath of cold oil? No. But I like to look at it and walk past it. And I have amazing friends that are all different cultures, and there's great music spots and amazing food, and we create things all the time. So LA for me, in my version of it, with my perspective and my sort of rose-colored glasses, is great. And then in my sort of non-tinted lenses, I see all the things that it's not really somewhere I would ever want to raise a child, or I don't have that dream like a lot of people want to buy a house in LA or live in LA in a certain way. And I just, maybe because of being, spoiled in a way, having had so much time growing up there, I just don't have that craving for it. But I do appreciate it.
It's a fun place to visit.
Totally.
I know that.
Yeah.
Hopefully you make it back to Hawaii often and maybe even move back one day.
Yes.
When it becomes affordable.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, don't wait for that.
Exactly. Like, when will that happen?
It's going to be doubled.
People are just going to start building houses on vacant land.
Then
the government's going to be like...
I saw a meme,
right.
a meme that had like a tent, like the tents that are on the beach. Like there was like a tent and there was an air conditioner unit like taped into the side of the tent. And it was saying like Zillow in Hawaii is like 200,000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's true.
It's true.
That's 100% true.
Check out this new 2-bedroom tent.
Exactly.
I guess it's not that cheap in LA. But.
No, I think that, everywhere in the world, and I was just talking, I think I was filling up probably my car full of gas and was talking to someone in the car with me and saying, it's crazy because I remember when they jacked up the gas prices and everyone was in upheaval over it, but humans just adapt. We just figure out a way to survive. And the powers that be know that we will. That's why, it's like we'll jack up the thing over here and then everyone will freak out, but then they'll deal with it and then we'll jack up this. And so if you look at it overall now, the cost of living everywhere is crazy.
Yeah.
Salaries aren't going up, but the cost of everything else has gone up. And I feel
can't
like
be pissed off forever.
exactly, that's the thing. You can, of course, I care about social justice and human rights and all these things, and we can do everything that we can do to be involved and try to change as much as we can. But also on a day-to-day level, if you have to navigate what you have to navigate, I try to do it with as best possible
Keep it
attitude
positive,
as I can. Yeah, and then weird, inexplicable things can happen. If something feels like, oh, I could never live there because I could never afford it, but I'm going to have the best attitude possible about maybe there could be somehow a possibility someday. And then weird things happen sometimes in life where someone's like, oh, I'm leaving. Do you want to sublet my, you never know. It's part of that same
Like,
strange
hey, do you want me
thing.
to make you a custom baritone?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. I'm like,
I
you never.
kind of, that's weird.
That's
because then I
weird.
was thinking like,
It must
need
be
a
Apple.
baritone.
They must have
Yeah,
heard me
right.
thinking it.
They have this service where they start reporting
Suggest
to
to
other people.
Tyler. Yeah.
Hey, so this person needs
Exactly.
a baritone. Like, oh, all right.
The universe,
Exactly
aka
that.
Apple. No. Well, it's been quite the
Yes.
joy
Thank
to
you.
spend some time with you, and you're a beautiful person making beautiful music,
Thank you.
and hopefully you come back again.
Yes, I'll be back again. Thank you so much for all of this amazing
Oh, thank
music.
you.
Oh, thank you.
Great.
I'm a big fan of soul music, and
You do it well.
yeah,
you.
very well.
Thank you.
Tell people how to get a hold of you. Keep in touch.
The best place online is Instagram. It's Tihane, Tihane, and there will be links there, and my link in my bio. And from there, there's website stuff. And I do a lot of, as you can imagine from listening to all the different areas of conversation that we've touched on too, I do a lot of different kinds of things. So you'll find links there for like creative talks and workshops and just different things that I like to put out into the world, collaborations with other people. Music is like my everything, but then it sort of spreads out and becomes lots of other things too.
I feel a TED Talk coming up in the future.
It's there. The link is in my
This is
bio.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Nice.
Right
Yeah.
on.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Stay in touch. We'll be doing a lot more auctions for Maui, so check the ukulelesite.com. We have some up there now, and your support for that is greatly needed and very much appreciated. And we love all you guys, and we'll see you soon. Aloha.
All right.
Amazing.